Welcome students to the Smart class to discuss the chapter Our Environment from Class 10 CBSE Board. This is a continuation of the previous lecture on the above mentioned chapter. In this session, I am going to discuss food chains, different trophic levels, decomposers, energy flow in an ecosystem, food web, classification of food chain, ecological pyramid and its classification. Now you can see, as I've already told you, that this is a continuation of the previous lecture of the same chapter, our environment. So here the question is starting with what is food chain, and the question number is 15. You must not get confused, that's why I'm just highlighting the point. Means question number 15 is the starting question. In that case, it will be a confusing thing. Okay, so what is food chain? The transfer of food energy from the source in plants through a series of organisms is known as food chain. Or you can say the organisms taking part at various biotic levels form a food chain. Now, before coming to the example, you see, I want to tell you that there's a series of organisms that are involved in the transfer of energy of food from the primary producer, say suppose plants, to the series of consumers through herbivorous animals to different levels of carnivores. See, now I'm coming to the example where you can find food chain in forest. It's from trees to deer to tiger. Okay, so who is the primary producer over here? Trees. And who are the herbivorous animals over here? Deer. Okay, who is the herbivorous animal? This is deer. Now again we are coming to the carnivorous animal, that is tiger. Again, if you go to the second example, food chain in grassland, where I have given the example from grass to grasshopper to toad to snake to vulture. So you can easily recognize who is the primary producer over here? Grass. And who is the herbivorous animal over here? Grasshopper. And if I say the carnivorous animal, that is vulture. Okay. So already I've told, now autotrophic organisms assimilate inorganic sources. Autotrophic organisms means plants assimilate inorganic resources into packages of organic molecules. Now these organic molecules become resources for heterotrophs. These heterotrophs then become resource for another consumer. So what happens? At each link of the food chain, three pathways can be easily recognized, and these three pathways are decomposition, parasitism and predation. So I will come down to these details, decomposition, parasitism and predation later on, you will find. So I will come to the details. So far I think the food chain concept is clear to everybody. I'm coming to the next question, question number 16, that is trophic level. What each levels of food chain are called? It is called trophic level. Okay, so trophic level basically it's a nutritive series of an ecosystem. If you just go to question number 20, if you go to question number 20, you can find that I have given a different question, obviously, enumerate the position of producers and consumers at different trophic levels. But here, the four trophic levels are clearly marked. Here you can see the producers belong to the first trophic level, primary consumer, they belong to the second one, secondary consumers, they belong to the third trophic level, and obviously tertiary consumers, they belong to the fourth one. So coming back to question number 16, trophic level and its different levels I have already shown you in question number 20. Now in question 20. Now in question number 17, at which trophic level producers are present? Autotrophs or producers are at the first trophic level. Say, who are the autotrophs? Plants, then algae. They do not eat other organisms but pull nutrients from the soil or ocean and manufacture their own food by photosynthesis. So primary producers actually are these plants and algae. So from here, it's very clear that energy from the sun usually powers the base of the food chain, isn't it? Energy from the sun usually powers the base of the food chain because these producers like plants and algae, as told, they are at the base of the food chain. They belong to the first trophic level. Am I clear? I think it's clear. And then question number 18, state the functions of producers of food chain. Again, producers means plants. They transform radiant energy to chemical energy, or you can say solar energy to chemical energy, or light energy to chemical energy through photosynthesis, making available for heterotrophs or consumers. Now to question number 19, what are decomposers? Oh, these decomposers are really great heroes. Decomposers play very important role in ecosystem, to the environment. These decomposers are magicians, believe me. More you will come across decomposers as you go higher classes. As you go to higher classes, you will come across these decomposers. These decomposers are really magicians and heroes, and we always, we find the heroes to be very interesting or motivational in that case. So decomposers are really great heroes. And if words fail me to express actually what is the role of decomposer, no, I'm going to explain you what are decomposers. That doesn't mean that I can't explain you. Yeah, there are words to define decomposers, and most importantly, being a teacher, I want to make you conscious about the role of the decomposers. The microorganisms that break down the complex organic substances into simple inorganic substances, which ultimately mix with the soil to be used up again by plants. So the complex organic substances are broken into simple inorganic substances. Why? They should be mixed with the soil. Why? Again, it should be used up by plants. They are called detrivores. They have another name, detrivores, because they ingest and digest dead matter internally. Decomposers directly absorb nutrients through external chemical and biological processes. Very interesting, mechanism they have. So the examples like bacteria, fungi, worms, snails. Now the organic material of the living organisms in an ecosystem. We know that organic material is present in a living organism. That organic material of the living organism in an ecosystem is eventually broken down, recycled and returned to the abiotic environment, that is to the soil, in forms that can be used up by plants. Okay, so decomposers basically feed on non-living organic material. Bacteria and fungi, I told the example, but what they do actually, means in class 10 up to this level of knowledge is sufficient for you. This level of knowledge is very much sufficient for you because they secrete enzymes, they digest the organic material, then absorb the breakdown products. Some more information you will get about decomposers in question number 45. That is in the last session of this chapter, you will get more information about decomposers. Now coming to question number 20, that has already been discussed previously, so I am not going into the details again because already the 4 trophic levels that I have explained when I was discussing. Which question can you remember? That is question number 16, right? Question number 16. So I am not going into the details of question number 20 again. Coming to question number 21, what percentage of energy is captured by green plants during photosynthesis? See, it is told here, it is written here, the green plants in the terrestrial ecosystem capture about 1% of the solar energy from leaves and convert into food energy through the process of photosynthesis. Oh my God, only 1%. How is that possible? So much solar energy is available. Only 1% of the solar energy they are absorbing and they are capturing. and they are utilizing in the process photosynthesis. The sun is constantly bombarding Earth with its energy. Now it's 1/10 of that 1% of the energy reaches Earth's surface. Amazing fact, isn't it? Sun is constantly bombarding Earth with its energy. 1/10 of that 1% of the energy reaches Earth's surface, which is fixed or captured by green plants in the process photosynthesis to convert light energy to chemical energy. So, really amazing fact, but you have to accept. No way. Coming to question number 22, only 10% of energy is transferred at each tropic level. See, here it's written green plants are eaten by primary consumers. We all know. A great deal of energy is lost as heat to the environment. Some amount of energy is used for digestion and for work. Rest of the energy goes towards growth and reproduction. Thus, an average of only 10% of the food energy is made available for the next level of consumers. So, energy decreases, as you can see, as it moves up the tropic levels. Energy is lost as metabolic heat. When the organisms from one tropic level are consumed by organisms from the next tropic level, then some energy is lost in the form of heat, right? So, clear that 10% of energy is transferred at each tropic level. Now question number 23. Who first formulated this 10% law of transfer of energy? See, the name is given Raymond Lindemann. Raymond, shootings and shortings you have heard. From that name you can remember the name Raymond Lindemann. Not only that, he was an American ecologist. But what is the most unfortunate thing, He died at the age of 27 and he died due to cirrhosis of liver. Oh my God. But he was a talented scientist. I'm telling you. So he first formulated this 10% law. He was born in 1915 and he passed away in the year 1942. Now question number 24. What are the main characteristics of energy flow in an ecosystem? See, it's written first bullet, the flow of energy is unidirectional. The energy that is captured by autotrophs do not revert back to the solar input. Do they? Never. The energy which passes to the herbivores never comes back to the autotrophs. It's not possible. When energy moves progressively through various trophic levels, it is no longer available to the previous level. So these 3 points, they prove that flow of energy in an ecosystem is always unidirectional. Energy available at each trophic level gets diminished progressively due to loss of energy at each level. Now, coming to question number 25, what is 10% law of transfer of energy? The 10% law of transfer of energy states that only 10% of energy is transmitted from one trophic level to the next, resulting in a decrease in the amount of energy. You see, already I have told what is 10% law. Who proposed it? Everything. Only I have highlighted one form of question, another form of question rather, so that the answers will be different and the language which you like you can take. But the concept must be in your mind that this 10% law of transfer of energy, what I wanted to highlight or what I wanted to hammer is that 10% law of transfer of energy is very, very important for you to understand. Now, coming to question number 26, only a little amount of energy is available for the next level of consumers. Explain. See, it's the same answer I'm telling you. Only the question is being changed. But see the answer, the food chain consists of 4 trophic levels. The loss of energy from one level to the next is very high, resulting in very little amount of energy remaining available after for 4 trophic levels. Remaining available after 4 trophic levels. So, when you go at the top, means 4th trophic level, a very little amount of energy is there. Just to highlight this one, I have framed the question 26 in a different form. Maybe the answers are all same. Got my point? question number 27. State the main characteristics of the lower tropic level. What is the main characteristics of the lower tropic level? See the question. The most notable characteristic of the lower tropic level is the presence of greater number of individuals in an ecosystem. I repeat, most notable characteristic of the lower tropic level is the presence of greater number of individuals in an ecosystem, and greater numbers are the producers, and producers means plants. Now we are coming to question number 28. What is food web? The length and complexity of food chains vary greatly. Each organism is generally eaten by two or more other kinds of organisms. Hope you have understood it. Each organism is generally eaten by two or more other kinds of organisms. These organisms in turn are eaten by several other organisms. So instead of a straight line food chain, the relationship can be represented as a series of branching lines called a food web. Again, I have given a different definition. See, food web is formed of food chains of same habitat which are interconnected to form a complicated network forming a foundation of ecosystem. Whatever definition you take, but the concept must be clear that instead of a straight food chain, there should be a food web. Why? Because each organism is eaten up by two or more other kinds of organisms. Those organisms again in turn are eaten by several other organisms. So food chain is a straight chain. It cannot represent this relationship. To represent this complicated relationship, food web is necessary. Clear? Food web is more stable than a food chain. Explain. The interconnections and interdependency in food web where food chain operates simultaneously make food web much more fundamental than food chain. Oh, really confusing. Means food web more stable than food chain. Actually, you know, food web is a better analogy to the actual nature of the interactions between tropic level components. Suppose if I take an example of crocodile. Think of crocodile. Crocodile is interlinking the aquatic and terrestrial food chains. Think of it. So crocodile is an organism which is interlinking the aquatic and terrestrial food chains. If you think of a food chain, it's a straight one, isn't it? It's a straight line. But if you think of a food web, it's a network. Why this network has formed? Because of the interconnections and interdependency. And this network, these two fundamental things, these interconnections and interdependency has made the food web more dynamic and more stable than a straight food chain. Is it clear? Now question number 30. What do you mean by energy flow in an ecosystem? Same question, isn't it? But why? Why the same question? Not the same one. Please note, it's not the same question. The pattern is different. Maybe the answer is same, maybe the content is same, but the way of answering is different. What do you mean by energy flow in an ecosystem? The unidirectional flow of energy from one tropic level to another tropic level in an ecosystem and finally to the surrounding is called energy flow in an ecosystem. If I divide the answer into 4 parts, what will I get? The first part is unidirectional flow of energy. Second one, from one tropic level to another tropic level. Oh, tropic word is missing over there. Sorry for that. One tropic level to another tropic level is the second part. In an ecosystem is the third part. And finally to the surrounding, it's the fourth part, is called energy flow in an ecosystem. For your kind information, if you miss any one of these parts, then the answer becomes meaningless. Question number 31. Explain how the energy flow in an ecosystem follows the laws of thermodynamics. The first law of thermodynamics, we all know that energy is indestructible, energy cannot be created, only transformation of energy from one form to another takes place. So you got these 3 bullets. Now you come to the 3 bullets again I have written. Green plants capture solar energy to synthesize food. Second, food has potential energy within its chemical bonds. The potential energy transforms into kinetic energy during respiration. Potential energy transforms into kinetic energy. So, first law of thermodynamics states that energy can neither be created nor it can be destroyed, but it can be converted obviously from one form to another. So, solar energy is converted to chemical energy by plants through the process of photosynthesis. Now, this chemical energy or the solar energy, say suppose the solar energy, let me come to the solar energy first, which is captured by the plants, cannot go back into the solar system, but it will be converted to chemical energy by the plants and it will pass from autotrophs to herbivores. Now producers means plants, they capture 1% of solar energy as told, rest is lost as heat. Then a small portion of energy captured is utilized by the producers for respiration. Only 10% is used to provide food to the herbivores. So energy from herbivores is used in metabolism. Again, rest is lost as heat. The remaining energy are used by carnivores. Then these energies transform to the decomposers. And then when the herbivores die, these energies transform to the decomposer. So at each trophic level, there is a decreased amount of energy level available for the next one. So this is the second law of thermodynamics, which I will come in the next question, that energy is only transformed from one form to another. It is not created, it is not destroyed. See, explain how energy flow in an ecosystem follows the laws of second law of thermodynamics, if I say. So question number 32, I think so, if I'm not wrong. Second law of thermodynamics is a transformation of energy accompanied by a change of energy from a state of concentration to a state of dispersion. From a state of concentration to a state of dispersion, I think these two terms are quite familiar to you. So a portion of the kinetic energy is released as heat to the environment and subsequently radiates out into the space. Earth receives energy from the sun and at the same time radiates energy back into the space. As a result, the total energy content remains the same. So this is the second law of thermodynamics. That means the answer is very self-explanatory. That's why I'm not going into further explanation. If you just remember the answer, it will be sufficient for you. Because according to 10th standard, this answer is quite sufficient. Question number 32 or rather 33, classify food chains, predator, parasitic and saprophytic or detritus. Here we cannot use the term decomposer. Yeah, obviously decomposer is the main thing, but saprophytic or detritus will be more appropriate to use. So predator, that starts from green plants to carnivores. Parasitic starts from large host to smaller parasitic animals. You know that parasites always need a host to multiply. And saprophytic or detritus starts from dead organisms to microorganisms. Okay, so dead organisms means when the organism is dead, then the work of the saprophytic organisms, they begin. That's microorganisms. They begin their own work. That is, they derive their food and nourishment from these dead organisms, and they convert this organic matter into inorganic matter and mix up in the soil to be used up by the plants again. So whatever I have given, the classification, these 3 points, if you can remember the language, I think is quite sufficient for you as you are in standard 10. More details obviously are needed, but in the higher classes. 34. What is ecological pyramid? A definite relationship between producers and different form of consumers can be represented graphically, which is called ecological pyramid. So you can see there are 3 pyramids that have been shown over here. One is pyramid of numbers, one is pyramid of biomass, and one is pyramid of energy. So you can see, if I say pyramid of biomass, total matter content of the means dry weight of the organisms, they are called biomass. So it's showing different amount of biomass at each trophic level, with highest at the primary producer level at base and lowest in the highest consumer level at the apex. You see what I told you? Highest at the primary producer level, that is in the grass, and lowest in highest consumer level, that is wolf at the apex. Pyramid of number, if you just go through, then you see it's the same. Producers are more at the base and lowest at the apex, that is tertiary consumers, they are the lowest. If you come to the energy, pyramid of energy, then you can see energy, 10% of energy is at the base, then decreases towards apex. So these 3 diagrams that you can see, solar energy is being radiated there. So the 3 diagrams, I think, is very clear to you. Now next question, that is 35, classify ecological pyramids. You can see pyramid of energy, pyramid of biomass, pyramid of number. Now, pyramid of energy, the pyramidal structure that represents the different energy contents of the trophic levels in a food chain of an ecosystem is known as pyramid of energy. Why I am reading like this? Because every single word, each and every single word is very important to write down. The producer level at the base of the pyramid contains the maximum energy, gradually decreasing on the upper herbivorous primary consumer and carnivorous secondary and tertiary consumer levels. Now, pyramid of biomass. The biomass is the living weight of organisms at each trophic level. The biomass of first trophic level producer is much higher than the biomass of the second herbivore and the third carnivore trophic levels. So, the large amount of biomass of the producer level and gradual decrease of biomass contents in the upper levels signifies a pyramidal shape to the representation. Now, lastly, the pyramid of number. The number of members is maximum at the first trophic level and decreases gradually in the second and third trophic levels. So in this way, a pyramidal representation exhibits the real ecological scenario. It is also known as Iltonian pyramid. I think these three differences are quite sufficient. Further explanation is not needed. If you can memorize the language and if you can write down, then it will be sufficient for you. And these are, a little bit twisted questions. This will not come into your boards, but for your concept, it's better to know. Now, I have a question for you from this session. The question is, all the types of food chain, that is predator food chain, parasitic food chain and saprophytic food chain, begin with plants. Why? If you know the answer, you can post your answer in the comment section below along with your email ID. The best answer will be rewarded a surprise gift and you will be notified through your email. The next lecture will be the last one from the chapter Our Environment, Class 10 CBSE Board Biology, where biological magnification, ozone layer, biodegradable and non-biodegradable wastes will be discussed. If you have not subscribed to my channel so far, then you can subscribe now and also click on the notification icon to receive the first update when the next post will be published. Again, the students of Kolkata can take the advantage of classroom teaching of smart class where student-teacher ratio is intentionally less for better interaction. After all, students' benefit is the top priority of smart class. A special grooming section is there to encourage and motivate students and to help them to behave smarter in different problems of life. Smart Class provides tutorials in all subjects from class 5 to 12, all boards, including computer science and computer application. Smart Class provides tutorial classes for NEET and JEE Mains by experienced teachers. Anyone interested can contact through email ID given below. Thank you. Stay safe and tuned.